In the dim glow of a flickering kitchen bulb, a barefoot boy named Arjun stood clutching an empty bowl, his small frame trembling as hunger gnawed at his insides. At just 8 years old, his gentle eyes held a quiet sorrow, drowned out by the sharp voice of his stepmother, Savita. Her glare was as cold as the marble floor beneath his feet, her words slicing through the air like a whip. "No food until every chore is done," she snapped, shoving him toward a pile of dirty dishes. To her, Arjun was less than a shadow, an inconvenience in a home where he should have been cherished. But even in the bleakest moments, when despair seemed to choke out all light, a spark of hope flickered deep within him. Little did he know, his story, a tale of resilience and redemption, was about to unfold, one that would inspire countless hearts, including those who'd hear it on the Midnight Tales YouTube channel. Arjun's world hadn't always been so dark. Once, his home echoed with his mother's laughter, her warm hands guiding him through sunny afternoons. But after her passing, everything changed. His father, Rajesh, a successful businessman, buried his grief in endless work trips, leaving Arjun in the care of Savita. In public, Savita was a vision of grace, her fine clothes and sweet smile fooling neighbors and friends. Behind closed doors, she was a storm of cruelty, reserving her kindness for her own 2 children. They ate hot meals and slept under soft blankets, while Arjun scrubbed floors until his hands bled, polished shoes until his arms ached, and curled up at night on a thin mat in a drafty corner. His existence was reduced to a series of tasks, each one heavier than the last, each one a reminder of his place in Savita's world, unwanted. Every morning, Arjun rose before dawn, his small body sore from the previous day's labor. He carried buckets of water that sloshed against his skinny legs, swept floors until his back screamed, and cleaned windows until his fingers cramped. At school, he was a ghost, sitting silently at the back of the classroom, his tattered clothes and downcast eyes unnoticed by teachers too busy to see his pain. He never spoke of the bruises hidden beneath his sleeves or the hunger that made his head spin during lessons. To speak was to risk Savita's wrath, and her punishments were as inventive as they were cruel. "You'll never amount to anything," she'd hiss, her words sinking into his heart like stones, heavier than any physical blow. Yet, in the quiet of the night, as he lay on his mat, Arjun clung to a fragile thread of hope. Whispering to himself, he'd say, "One day, someone will see me. One day, this will end." Those words, soft as a prayer, were his lifeline, a promise he made to himself under the stars he could barely see through the cracked window above. Life in Savita's house was a relentless cycle of toil and torment. One evening, as the sky turned a bruised purple, Savita's temper flared over a spilled glass of milk. "Clumsy fool!" she shouted, forcing Arjun to kneel on the cold marble floor, her hand raised to deliver another stinging slap. The air was thick with tension, Arjun's heart pounding as he braced for the blow. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. The front door creaked open, and Rajesh stepped inside, his suitcase still in hand, his face etched with exhaustion from a long trip. He froze, his eyes locking onto the scene before him, his young son, trembling and tear-streaked, cowering beneath Savita's towering rage. The room seemed to hold its breath. "What is going on here?" Rajesh's voice boomed, a thunderclap that shattered the silence. Savita's face drained of color, her usual excuses stumbling out in a nervous rush. "He's clumsy, Rajesh. He needs discipline," she stammered, but her words faltered under his piercing gaze. Rajesh's eyes shifted to Arjun, who couldn't meet them, too afraid to hope this moment was real. Slowly, Rajesh knelt before his son, his fingers gently lifting Arjun's chin. The bruises on the boy's arms, the fear in his eyes, told a story louder than any words could. In that instant, something inside Rajesh broke. The truth he'd been too busy to see crashed over him like a wave. His son, his own flesh and blood, had been suffering under his roof, and he'd been blind to it all. Rising to his feet, he turned to Savita, his voice slow but sharp as steel. "You have no place in this house if you cannot love my child. Get out." The words were final, a father's fury unleashed after years of neglect. Savita protested, her voice shrill, but Rajesh was unmoved. Within hours, she was gone, her fine clothes and false smiles packed away, leaving behind the wreckage of her cruelty. Arjun stood in the quiet that followed, his small body tense, half expecting to wake from a dream. But Rajesh knelt again, tears glistening in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, my son," he whispered, his voice thick with regret. "I should have protected you. From now on, you'll never be alone again." Those words, simple yet profound, wrapped around Arjun like a warm blanket, thawing the chill that had settled in his heart. The days that followed were like stepping into a new world. Rajesh rearranged his life, trading boardroom meetings for evenings at home. He learned to cook simple meals, burnt rotis at first, but Arjun didn't mind. They ate together, laughing over shared plates, the kitchen no longer a place of fear but of warmth. Arjun began to smile again, tentative at first, then bright and unrestrained. He picked up his books with a newfound eagerness, ran through the garden without looking over his shoulder, and slept soundly, no longer haunted by the sound of Savita's footsteps. The transformation was astonishing. Neighbors, who once whispered pityingly about the quiet boy in tattered clothes, now saw a child who laughed freely, his hand clasped proudly in his father's. Arjun's story spread through the community, a tale of a boy who rose from the ashes of cruelty to find love and safety. It became a living lesson, shared even on platforms like MidnightTales, where stories of hope and resilience touch hearts across the globe. Wealth and success, the story reminded everyone, mean nothing if you fail to protect those who need you most. Arjun's scars, both visible and hidden, would take time to heal, but with his father's love and patience, they began to fade. The boy who once whispered desperate hopes into the night now lived them, proof that even the deepest wounds can mend when love finds its way home. Arjun's journey didn't end with his father's awakening. As the months passed, he grew stronger, not just in body but in spirit. At school, he began to raise his hand, his voice no longer trapped in his throat. Teachers noticed the change, their eyes softening as they watched him bloom. He made friends, their laughter filling the playground where he once sat alone. Rajesh, too, was transformed. He became a father in every sense, attending school events, reading bedtime stories, and listening to Arjun's dreams. The house, once a prison, became a sanctuary, filled with the sounds of life, Arjun's chatter, Rajesh's gentle teasing, and the clatter of dishes as they cooked together. The community, inspired by Arjun's resilience, began to look closer at their own homes, ensuring no child went unseen, no cry for help unheard. The story of Arjun, shared widely on MidnightTales, became more than just a tale of one boy's triumph. It was a call to action, a reminder that kindness has the power to rewrite even the darkest chapters. Arjun, once invisible, became a beacon of hope, his quiet strength inspiring others to stand up, to speak out, and to love fiercely. His journey showed that no heart is beyond repair, no child too broken to heal. As he grew, Arjun carried this truth with him, a living testament to the power of love and resilience. His story, told under the stars on MidnightTales, reached far beyond his small town, touching lives and reminding the world that even in the coldest of kitchens, a single spark of hope can light the way to a brighter future.